Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not. Hi there, and welcome to Better Than Not, the podcast that aims to capture shifting perspectives and thought-provoking ideas in conversation. Based loosely on my series, A Changing Frame of Reference, which you can read on the Substack app, and I hope you will, as it might give you some insight into what this podcast is all about. I'm your host, Doug Gardam, and today I'm quite excited to introduce and have a conversation with William C. Cole. William, how are you today?
I'm well, Douglas. And you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
William, or as he often likes to be called, Bill, is an actor. He's a writer. He's an author. He was a business owner, but is very much a businessman. And he is now a film producer. And so like I said, I'm excited to get into his story today. Bill and I first met, believe it or not, and I might be dating this a little bit, but I'm thinking it's probably around 9 years ago. We were both on what I call the Ontario book signing circuit. And so Bill had a book, and I think he's got two. He had first out and was working on a second one at the time. Had a conversation in the store, kind of hit it off. And then we had a lot of things happen from that period of time, including a pandemic. And then not so long ago, I see Bill pop up on my Instagram feed as an actor. And so it didn't dawn on me. He said, well, it'd be cool to have a conversation of how do you go, Bill, from an ice cream parlor owner operator to a writer who publishes his own book and then into being an actor. The actor to a filmmaker, I kind of see, but from ice cream to acting and successfully acting, I make a note of here. How does that world work for you, man?
Well, I don't know. It was timing, Douglas. I don't even know if I can explain it, but I mean, I've always, as you. Yep. I've always kind of been artistic, and we go ahead with our career jobs, right?
Yes,
to make a living.
Yep.
As you did, I believe, as an engineer.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, good memory.
Yeah. And years ago, I used to work in the music industry.
Okay.
As we had a recording studio, I was producing that and all that. Get away from that to make a living.
Yes.
And so I guess it's always been there with the books, because I wrote my books while I had the businesses.
Yes.
Actually, I wrote a lot of my books in the business on downtime.
Okay.
I sat behind the counter with my computer.
Oh, wow.
One day I saw that on Facebook. They were looking for background actors for a movie they were shooting in our city.
And this is after we've met, as in chapters and book signing. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You see this ad.
Yeah. So the books come out. We did the whole thing with the books, the tours, like you did. I mean, I didn't do it as extensively as you, but
a little more sane maybe than me.
I did those long trips though.
Yeah.
So and then so with the acting, I saw the ad, and I answered it. I said, I'd like to try this, to the casting director. It was an open call.
Oh, wow.
So she emailed me right back, says, yeah, I'd like to use you. So I went the next weekend, and I did this all-night shoot. Actually, it was a movie called Through Black Spruce. And I was there, and all the lights and the cameras and that. It's like, this reminds me of the music business.
Right.
I really like this.
Yes.
So I wrote her back, and I said, thanks. That was enjoyable. and I'd like to do it again. If you have anything that fits my profile. I got an answer right back. The next day, I was in North Bay. I'm based in Sudbury. I was in North Bay
Yeah.
working on a movie called Carter. I was acting as a doctor, but as background. And she kept me going with this background work, which it for those in the business, acting business, a lot of actors work background as they're auditioning for roles to uh, make ends meet.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't doing it for that purpose, but a lot are.
Okay.
Um, I just enjoyed it, and
So you can make a little bit of money doing this.
you make good money doing that. I
Oh,
know
okay.
I
Really?
have a lot of friends that make a living doing that. That's all they do.
Oh, wow.
They
Okay.
do background acting, they do stand-in,
Yeah.
things like that. This casting director and I got along really well. She had a studio here where she teaches acting, so I registered.
Oh,
One
wow.
thing led to another, and then she got me casted in a movie with a speaking role,
Oh, wow.
and then
So
kind
that's
of
next
snowballed.
level.
Yeah, then I got an agent. I got an agent in Toronto, and well, I had an agent up here. Now I'm with one in Toronto, and she does all the work. I don't know what I'm doing, and she takes care of everything. And I'm always auditioning for different things,
You are.
commercials and yeah, commercials and movies and TV shows, and it's like anything. Once you build a reputation, you start slowly building. And I'm still built at the bottom of building, but um, yeah, and it kind of snowballed into that part. And yeah, so I ended up doing the acting, and it's been fun. I really like it, and
S-
it's really hard too.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah,
are so you've been like I'd like to get back to the hard part. So, but you've been in a few movies now.
I have, yeah. Um, yeah, not huge roles, but I've been in some movies. Yeah, I don't know quite how many I've been in. If you count my background work when I first started, I've probably been on over 100 sets, like a lot.
Wow.
But as far as speaking roles go, uh, um, I'd have to go back and figure it out. But I'm probably looking at, if you include commercials and stuff, I'm probably looking at about, maybe 20 some. Um,
That seems
I
like a
have
lot of
a,
work
I,
though, Bill.
yeah, I have an IMDb page.
Okay. Okay.
Do you know of IMDb?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, so I have one under William C. Cole, and anything I do, not commercials, but anything I do is listed there in movies, speaking roles. Yeah, so
So while you're doing this, are you still writing?
I am. So I'm about halfway through my third book, which I've really, really procrastinated on. I don't know why.
Yeah.
You probably maybe understand it, but uh, my third book that I've been it's the third book of the series,
Right.
and
Right.
I'd like to get it done because it's been years now. But and it's what I have written so far is my favorite. Like
Oh,
it's
that's
like
cool.
I love it, but I just can't seem to get finish it. And I mean, in between all that, I've been writing scripts,
Oh, you are script
and
writing too.
yeah. I just did one of mine recently.
So this is the filmmaking part that I was gonna get to, but before we go, that the titles
Yeah,
of your books, Bill, for people that would like to get them. The
yeah.
first book is entitled
It's called Love Lonely.
Yes,
Yeah,
and these are
and
these are
then
works of fiction as well.
it's fiction. Yeah. And the next one's called, which is the second book of the series, is called Who Lies Beside Me.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
you're
There
looking, you can still get these books on Amazon.
you can, yeah.
Yeah,
And I think some of the chapters still have them lying around somewhere.
yeah.
Not, I don't know which ones or which chapters. You know how that works, but yeah.
It is when you start to get involved with an industry, you start to learn so much that you didn't think that was how it worked, but that's how it
Oh my God,
works.
yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
I
kind of
know.
it's very interesting because I know my experiences were crazy to me. I met so many people like yourself, and you got to see so many different things that really you didn't even kind of know about at the time. And then the pandemic just kind of like was like a tidal wave over all of it, right?
Yeah.
But going back to your books, you've written a screenplay based on your book.
I do have one based
Okay.
on the book, but we haven't done anything with that yet.
Okay.
I've got actually, I did what I'd like to do with my books. My goal would be is to uh, uh, produce a series, like a
Okay.
Netflix series or
Yes.
something like.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I've written the first episode
Okay.
as a
Cool.
screenplay. Now that's an expensive proposition just to go ahead and do it myself.
Right.
Yeah, you have to get the backing, the financial. But this industry now, I'm in behind the camera stuff.
Yes.
Um, it's money. I mean, I have the crews, I have the actors, I have everything is at my fingertips,
Oh, really?
the
Okay.
scripts and all that. But it's to finance it,
You
and they're
got it.
expensive. And they're
Yes.
expensive. Yeah. So there is grant money. um, Funny story, and we can go back to other stuff. But
Cool.
I just finished. Um, I'm waiting for the final edit to come in, probably today, of a short film that I filmed. I wrote, directed. First time I directed, and I produced. And
This is the one you're promoting right now?
yeah, yeah, it's called The Mythical Cave. It's a short
That's the
film. It's
Mystical Cave. Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be 12, 13 minutes long, which was a great way to start doing that end of it because I learned so much. I applied for a grant for it. There's not a lot of grants out there available for short films. There are for feature films,
Right.
but for short films and I got turned down on the grant. So it just happens a couple of days after I got turned down on the grant, I um, came upon a university course that our local Laurentian
Yeah.
University has, and it's called The Fundamentals of Grant Writing. So I registered. So now I'm a student again, and I'm taking this course, and I've learned so much already.
Oh, I'll bet.
It's a great course to take. It's not a long course, but um, so I have another script that I want to shoot in the spring, another short film that I've written a script for, and I've already applied for a grant for that. And it takes 6 months to find out if you get it or not.
Okay.
But that brings me back to yeah. So it takes money. It takes a backer. I mean, it takes. You hear the term an angel investor,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Yeah.
and a lot of these films have that. And
Okay. Okay.
but when the short films, like shortly, I'll be starting to send mine out to film festivals for the next 6 months. That's what I'm going to do with it,
Okay.
and it's kind of a stepping stone. Maybe
Yeah.
someone producer likes what you're doing, or talks to you about it. Anyhow. So that's yeah.
So, Bill, when you look at this, you kind of go back. Like, do you remember when, like, you first realized this is something that's inside you, like this creative part,
It's
like
just there.
like do you remember like the first time that like you wanted to like write or perform something, or like you said with the music world and recording,
Yeah.
like
Well,
it's
yeah. I think when I was 15, I was playing in a band, a local band, and we
there
were
you go.
touring around and
Yep.
writing our songs, and so yeah.
That's
So I
that. Well,
think
that's the
that's when
part.
I realized, because prior to that I hadn't. But yeah,
And
yeah,
did you like noticeably say I have to do something to make a living somewhere in that line, or did that just kind of
yeah,
fall into
yeah,
play?
yeah. It was like I got to go back. I got to go back to college, and get a degree and make a living. And then you get stuck in that, don't you? I mean, I did,
Yes. Oh,
and I'm not saying I didn't enjoy my
sure.
career, but you know, but then I was always, I think, because of the artistic part, I was always like, most of my life it was just my own businesses that I built, right?
Right. Right.
So I
Well,
think that was maybe part of it too. You're doing your own thing.
yes. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah,
It is
and then
very
I
much
had the
part of it.
opportunity. back in the '80s to get back into the music business,
Okay.
and I did. So yeah, I got back in fairly heavily in the management part and the writing part and the recording and um,
So
yeah,
when you mentioned like the managing bands, managing talent.
yeah, managing bands, talent, uh, uh, promoting acts.
Yeah.
So I kind of worked with everybody from um um bar bands.
Right. Right.
In them days, you
Yeah.
used to play the bars 7 days a week, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big day.
Yeah, everybody from bar bands to uh, we. I used to book a lot of um, uh, different acts into. I got very involved with the fair circuit. You know
Okay.
the
Yep. Yep.
Calgary Stampede,
Yep.
Klondike Days. I got involved with their association too, and so I would be able to grab like an act like Ronnie Hawkins.
Right.
So I would take Ronnie and I'd put him
Bless his
into
soul.
Calgary Stampede, Klondike Days,
Oh,
and
okay.
they do kind of the tour of because uh, all these fairs they set their schedules where you can go from one to the next to the next to the next, and the acts do that.
Yeah.
So that, and then we would even I had a partner at the time. We even promoted. We even would rent out arenas, and this was before Live Nation and all the
Right.
ones that
Right.
book them now. Uh,
Yes. The
so like we brought in
pioneers.
yeah, we brought in acts like um, uh, Engelbert Humperdinck. Do you
Yes.
remember him?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
Yes.
so we would bring him in and pay him, and if we sold out, we would make money. If we didn't sell out, we would lose money.
The risk, right? The risk of it.
Yeah, yeah, we did a lot of things. I booked a lot of interesting acts. Like um, one of my favorite was the most simple act to book was she's a classical guitar player, Leona Boyd.
Oh, of course. She's like almost an icon of Canadian talent, right?
She is, yeah, and I had her booked just the one booking, but she was the. There's many stories go behind it, but she's just a sweetheart and the easiest person to work with, and so yeah, so I had a lot of opportunity to meet people doing
Oh,
that part
yeah.
of the music business. But then it got to the point, I think I was getting so busy that I think it was, I had determined that it was a young man's game. You
Ah,
know,
okay.
I
Okay.
couldn't do the all nighters anymore. And,
Yeah, it does wear you
3
out
o'clock in the
sometimes.
morning phone calls that my bus is broken down and I'm in Quebec. What am I supposed to do?
Well, when you say that, like I think back to even like in the high school days and the bands that like one of the few that you hear actually came out of that in those years was the International Success Rush, right? I mean, they did the
Yeah,
whole high school bar circuit, and somehow
yeah,
or other they were fortunate enough to get recognized in Cleveland, and then they just blew up.
yeah.
But you think of the Max Websters, and I think often of in the music world, Ian Thomas. I thought he was an enormous talent that and his brother went on to be part of Bob and Doug McKenzie, Dave
Yeah,
Thomas.
yeah, yeah.
And when you say that would have been the period of time when a lot of that you would have been working in that, so you would have probably worked with a lot of those kind of bands that.
Some, some. I mean, I used to go to the Juno Awards, be invited to Juno
Oh,
Awards and the
cool. Yes.
Country
Yes.
Music Awards. I got really involved with the Country Music Awards.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, yeah, it was fun. We did, yeah. I have a million stories I could
No, I was
go
going
on
to
with
say some of those
that.
would be
Yeah,
really interesting to hear because I grew up in Markham, and of course, you
yeah,
probably know Markham Fair. And
yeah.
so my father was a very big part of that organization. At one point in time, he was actually president of Markham Fair.
Oh,
And
was it?
yeah,
So you would know the fair circuit.
it was just one of those things that like because
Just gonna
he
plug my phone in here, Douglas.
okay for power.
Oh, maybe not. Okay, I'll plug it in if we get low. But
And like he when Markham Fair had to be moved from like kind of downtown Markham has changed so dramatically to me now, like I hardly even recognize it when I go back there. But he was, I think, the first that brought it to where it opened up just north of McCowan Road and became the new, kind of the new Markham Fair. I think that's
Yeah, yeah,
probably 35 years ago now, but it
yeah,
stays in your head as a kid as still that part.
yeah,
And I can remember going and them booking Tragically Hip and
yeah,
playing there, right? And they would, like you
yeah,
said, the fairs are set up in Ontario, maybe even across Canada, so that you can actually, as a performing act, make your tour fair to fair, right?
yeah, yeah. That's what they used to do. Yeah,
So
and
that's
it was
kind of
good
cool.
money for the acts too to do that.
I'll bet it was, right? And it was constant money too, from the point of view of being able to make a living at it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So do
We
you,
used to have the fairs used to have a convention every year, and
okay.
most of the time it was out in Calgary or out west, and we would all go, and we'd have actually little booths set up to
Ah,
promote our acts, and the buyers would just walk around and talk to you, and you'd sign contracts
oh
right there,
really?
and
Well,
yeah,
that's kind of
yeah.
cool.
And then they'd have they had a big dinner for us, and it was a real good thing to be associated with. And I got pretty involved. I joined the association. I got pretty involved. I even wrote articles for them. They had
Oh
a
wow.
little newspaper out, and yeah,
Well, it's interesting you say that because I was just talking to my father the other day, and he's being asked to write a history of,
oh
because these fairs have been around like for
oh yeah,
like I think Markham Fair is over 150 years old,
I would imagine, yeah,
which is like you think about that kind of history and what's there, and for the people that have been and generationally have been in those areas, like in Sudbury, for instance, or North
yeah.
Bay. In my case, this is Markham. There's stories that go on over and over, and the
Oh, I can
changes that have
imagine, yeah,
happened to the,
yeah,
like, the name
yeah.
that comes to my mind because of um, the ride area was Conklin shows. I don't know whether they're still around or not, but they were a big
I'm not
name.
sure. Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that because it's like
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
it was quite a big deal in our family because Dad, of
yeah,
course, it's a volunteer position,
yeah.
and it takes up a lot of your time throughout the year in organization it, right? Even though it's 4 days long, it's you have all the local
Oh,
exhibits
yeah.
that go
They're
on.
working at it all year long.
Crazy.
All year long. Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
remember
It's
any
just
fancy stories from those periods? Like any fun stories?
oh, I don't know. Um, Interesting. So bands, groups, they have riders. A rider, but they need backstage. But this.
Yes.
And some of them are pretty thick.
So,
But
so when you're talking about this, this is where you get an act coming in, and there's certain things that if they're going to be performing, that you get hired as part of their contract, you have to provide for them, right,
provide, yeah,
backstage.
in their dressing rooms. Some of them are just what you hear, like rock stars doing
Yes,
yellow M&Ms or whatever.
yes,
I mean,
yes.
there's some ridiculous ones. Um, Food cooked to certain temperatures, blah 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 blah. But um, interesting ones were there was a country band from the States called Sawyer Brown.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember them,
It
Sawyer
sounds
Brown.
kind of familiar, but
Yeah, I think they were a religious.
okay.
They were country music, but they're anyhow. And their rider was to provide with a dressing room, but the only thing they stipulated was no alcohol from stage back. So nobody from the stage back was
Could
allowed to have any alcohol.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I bet that was a challenge.
yeah. And then like Leona Boyd, all she required was a teapot and a teacup and tea.
Wow, eh?
Yeah. So there's interesting stories like that. We used to have. I was talking to someone yesterday about it. Um, so the Country Music Awards, Canadian Country Music Awards,
Right.
is telecast on a Saturday night or whatever it is. But we used to go for the whole week,
Okay.
and we would have seminars, get-togethers, networking, the whole works, and all these Canadian back in the '80s, all these Canadian country acts that just slugged it out in the bars. So they'd all show up there, and and the bars would all turn into country music
Ah,
um, venues for the week, and they'd all get like a half a night or get paid a little bit, just. Uh, but we also had an East-West hockey game, so so all these musicians and long hair
oh
guys
my
and crazy
goodness,
guys,
man.
the East guys would take on the West guys. Some guys could skate, some guys couldn't, and we'd all go and play. I'd take my hockey gear with me to go,
Oh wow.
and then we'd have a golf tournament.
Okay, okay.
If you can imagine, I don't know how many bars you've been into with bands. If you can imagine those people
Oh my
playing
god.
golf. Anyhow, so the week was just hilarious and a lot of fun. And then you'd have the awards Saturday night. It was televised, and then everybody go home. But those
Interesting.
are some of the interesting things
Well, it's funny you
that came
say
with
that
that.
because I mean I can go back to stories that I can not that I was involved with, but I mean Alice Cooper is supposed to be a scratch golfer,
Yeah,
and
yeah, he's supposed to be.
Alex Lifeson of Rush is a golfer, right?
Yeah,
And I mean I think most Canadians know about Geddy Lee sitting behind the back catcher at the Jays games, right? He has the seat
yeah,
right behind the
yeah,
back. So when you say that, like you kind of like you got to do something because you have like you perform, right? You have your sound check and then you perform for the couple of hours, whatever. If you've got that long,
yeah,
you've got a lot of time to kill in
yeah.
between those, right?
And most of them stay up all night.
Oh yeah.
That's when they want to do their business. Like my side, from being an agent, manager and stuff, they don't want to talk to me during the day. It's like after the show,
Oh really?
2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, what do you want? What do you want? Let's go through this. It's like that's like I say, I was getting a little too old for it.
Yeah, because I mean, especially if you spend any time awake in the day, that's really tough, right? To be
Yeah,
up all
yeah,
night and be doing that.
yeah.
So, oh,
But
so interesting.
it was a really good part of my life. I guess I was heavily into it for 10, maybe close to 15
Oh,
years,
that's a long
10 years.
time. Yeah.
And to today, I still get every quarter from an organization called SOCAN. I don't know if you've heard
Yes.
of
Yeah.
SOCAN.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Song.
still get my little royalties. And then I go on and check, and there was a song that I own the publishing for that was played on a radio station somewhere, or was on YouTube, or
Oh, that's got to
yeah,
be
from back in
cool.
the '80s. Yeah. So like I had back in the '80s, I had my own songs that I had written that were recorded and played on the radio, but I also had bought um,
Okay.
parts of publishing companies
Okay.
of and so I owned the rights or
Right.
half the rights to those songs and stuff. Um, just a quick little story. The In my office when I was in the music business, in the office beside me, we shared the building, the two of us, and we had a recording studio downstairs, but our offices were upstairs. Was a gentleman called Chuck Williams who has passed away quite some time ago. He was the old time musician type of guy, vaudeville, like he was a harmonic player. Anyhow, he was um, he was a manager of a couple of country acts that used to tour Canada. But him and his partner, previous partner, they were the two people who discovered Loretta Lynn,
Wow.
and they had produced her first record,
No
and
way.
he had it up on the wall. And
Did,
I had booked Loretta into Thunder Bay. We were in Thunder Bay at the time, and I had booked her there,
okay.
and she was up the office with us, and
Wow.
they were reminiscing. Yeah, they were in Vancouver at the time, and she was just south of Vancouver. I think Washington. She was just south,
Okay. Yeah.
and they were down there, and they saw this girl playing, and they asked her if she would come to Canada and record. They brought her back up. They recorded it, and it was on a record label called Zero Records. Yeah,
Okay. Wow. So Loretta
it,
Lynn originally got started in Canada.
yeah, from these two Canadians. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's kind of a cool
Her first
historic.
record.
Yeah, her first
Yeah,
record. Yeah, because I mean,
yeah,
most would know Loretta Lynn today. I mean,
Yeah, and
she's
then
gone on.
the story goes, I don't know. I mean, the story goes that once her husband took over her management stuff, they were just pushed aside.
Ah, okay.
And actually, uh, he got. I had posted it, I think, on my Facebook page way back. I have a copy of the letter he received from an Los Angeles motion picture company
This is Chuck
wanting
Williams.
background, wanting background on her when they were doing the movie Coal Miner's Daughter.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Coal
yeah.
Miner's
Yep,
Daughter.
yep. Coal
They
miner's
wanted
daughter
Chuck to give some background, so he did, and then they never mentioned him
in the movie.
and his partner in the movie.
Oh my goodness.
And he had apologies from her. He had all the apologies come after. But yeah, so yeah, I kind of say they discovered her because they
For
did her
sure.
first recording.
Absolutely.
So
That's
that
what I
was
mean. That's
he
the
had.
beginning.
Yeah, that's the history I was learning from him. He was an older man, older than me, and I was learning from him the whole time. And he had all these history stories. It was so interesting. Yeah,
Oh yeah, no,
but
it's because I mean
yeah,
it makes you think of like just how many because I would say almost a resurgence is happening in some of this retro because I see like Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings often now. Like to me,
yeah,
they're almost legendary. Some of the songs that they wrote, the Guess Who, when they came out and kind of were competing with the Beatles, and you
yeah,
start to see some of these other names that like you kind of remember them, right? Like I think, do you know Saga, the band
yeah,
Saga?
for sure.
They
Yep,
became a huge band in Germany. Well, they did the high school circuit,
yeah.
and I see Kim Mitchell, like part of Max Webster. He's out still playing in different places, and we see these pop
Kim
up,
Mitchell, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like it's still there. There's that when you
Well,
mention about the SOCAM, I think immediately thought about Terry Jacks
mhm,
and Seasons in the Sun song that was just
yeah.
massive. And now I've heard like, well, the royalty checks still come in for like that song, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, every song that's played on the radio to date has to be logged,
That's
and
crazy.
that log goes to SOCAN, and in Canada, it's called
Yeah,
SOCAN. In the States, there's a couple like BMI and that. And the radio station has to pay X amount of money, and I mean, they input it into their computers at SOCAN, and it's a percentage.
right.
But I would get paid like when I log on to my account, I can look exactly the radio station, the time it was played,
Oh wow.
and it breaks it all down for me. YouTube. Now we're starting to get from YouTube, where
Yes,
I've never
yes.
got that before, and it's coming from SOCAN, not through YouTube, but through YouTube to SOCAN, SOCAN to us. Yeah, so even television, when there's a concert played, like when we used to promote concerts, we would have to log all the songs played, pay SOCAN,
Oh
and
really?
that would go to the artist. Yeah, yeah, it's a really yeah.
The
No, but
behind the scenes
I mean,
stuff that goes on.
if you write a hit song, you're set for life. You need one song, you're set for life.
That's
You
crazy,
know,
eh? That's crazy
yeah,
when you think
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
So you wrote songs back then, and so this kind of connects me up to you were saying about like I'm going to jump ahead now to our
yeah,
world. You're becoming the act. You're working on the actor, and you said that
yeah.
like some of it's really hard work.
It acting is hard work. Um, I love it, but it's I did a movie this summer. It's a short film, but I don't. It's not that short. It's
Okay.
in between short and feature. Um, do you know there's a popular TV series, Letterkenny?
Yes. Yes. Letter Kenny. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Very popular.
Yep. Yep.
Popular in Europe. Anyhow, one of the stars of Letterkenny, Nathan Dales, played my son
Oh. Okay.
in the movie. We shot it in Sault Ste. Marie,
Oh wow.
and it hasn't come out yet. And I play a man who has dementia, and I'm his father. And it's a very touching movie.
I'll bet.
But I had the lead role in it, which meant I had a lot of lines. Like a
Yeah.
lot of lines.
Yeah.
Um, and when you get on set, it is expected. of every actor that shows up on set
Yeah.
to be prepared,
Right.
to know your lines, not have to grab your script and start reading or anything. You got to know them, and everybody expects that because it's
It's time and money.
thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
So to learn those lines is the hard part.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, to me, because so I mean, I would hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times I would go through them. I have them posted on my wall, and wherever I went, I would be going through them. I had them on my phone, listening, uh, and I've been very fortunate so far that when I show up on set, I'm ready,
Right.
and I hadn't had to look at the script, you know. Uh, but when I leave, I've never felt so exhausted.
Really,
My
eh?
brain is just fried. When I leave that day, my brain is just fried because it is to me. You know, some it comes natural. Kids, it'll come natural stuff. But to me, it's just very hard to learn the lines, and you got to know them so well that you're not thinking of them.
Right, right. Yeah.
Because if
Like
you're going to act,
it's you. You're
you
the
know,
person.
you got to be working with the other person. That you can't be thinking, oh, what's my next line, sort of thing. So that I find that very hard. But I work hard, and you know what? Um, Often when I uh, do something with the movie, or when I'm anything I really take on, I think of something you told me the first day I met you.
I did.
Yes, you did. We were at the book signing at Chapters. We had
Yeah.
split a book signing that day. They had double booked us.
Yes, yes.
And you looked at me, and I was a rookie, and you had been doing this for a while. And you looked at me, and I'm like, "Oh my God, how do you do so many book signings?" Blah 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 blah. And I wasn't even thinking of leaving and doing Toronto book signings and all that. And you looked at me, and you kind of pointed at me. You said, "Listen to me. If you're going to be in this, you're going to be either 100% in or you're out."
I said that.
And yeah, you said you're 100% in or out. And I thought about that, and I went home and I go, you know, he's right. You know, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it full out.
Yeah.
And I think about that quote
Well, that's
quite
cool.
often when I'm doing the acting and that. Yeah,
No, because
yeah.
to me,
I
it's one
think
of
the way you put it, I think the way you put it was you're either in or you're out. I think that was short. Is you're either in or out.
it took me a long time to learn actually that I
Yeah,
think, but
yeah,
it's one of those things is that you just it is what it is. That's why I think I appreciate the movies so much, not
yeah,
having ever done it, but just the whole sense of what they're able to capture. And I'm always fascinated, like hearing your story about going through that, right? Like I often wonder, like what we see, like we'll see, they'll get like shots of like a Leonardo DiCaprio as an example,
yeah,
right? Off, and you're thinking like, well, look at the life, or Woody Harrelson. There's all kinds of them, right? And you
yeah.
go like, wow, like what kind of a life that is, and but you don't see them what you're explaining. You don't
Oh yeah,
see.
it's not a pretty life when you're on set. It really
Oh,
isn't.
it's
Um, when you watch a movie, if you're on set, you would watch a movie differently because uh,
oh yeah.
you'll see a scene, and I did one. It's just being released now. I just saw it in Hamilton at the film festival for the second time. I saw it. It's doing the film festival. It's called Magnetosphere. It's
Oh
a feature
yes,
film,
yes, yes.
and I played a small part. I was a neurologist,
Okay.
and I was diagnosing the little girl with a condition called synesthesia. So I mean, I had to learn synesthesia, and all my lines were very medically, oriented. But um, uh, we shot. If you watch, I'm probably on screen for a minute, maybe more, maybe whatever.
Oh yeah.
And the scene, we probably shot it 30 times,
Oh my
maybe 40,
goodness.
because different angle,
Yeah.
right? Every time different angle. And then
Oh man.
when you see, I'm talking to you now,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden the camera faces me. Well, that was a whole hour setup because now all the lighting has to be changed, and now it's facing me. So you go on your break for an hour, you come back and you do the same scene. Now the camera's facing you. It's very interesting.
Oh
And
man.
when you see like a nice quiet scene or whatever, and two people having a intimate conversation or something, there's 50 people standing around. Like the place is packed with people. They're all over. They're not behind the screen, and they're hiding here, or hiding there, or hiding there. It's 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 crazy when you see it. But it's interesting.
It has to give you kind of like a different perspective on it as far as what an actor has to do, right? Like you said, like
Oh,
you just like it's so easy to say, well, we do it 30 times, right? And you go like, but that's like you one at a time. Like they're it's hard. You don't.
yeah,
It's hard to fathom when you say it like we did it 50 times or 30 times, and it's like okay, but you kind of go like when you start to think about that, like that's a
yeah,
lot. And you're
yeah.
saying the
It's
same lines, right? Like you're trying to capture the same.
the
Oh
whole
my god.
time. Well, here's an interesting thing. When I work for some reason I get cast as a doctor a lot or something like that.
Cool.
So I worked Magnetosphere. I was a doctor, and then I worked on it's a movie that's out now. You can find it on streaming sites. It's called Cafe Daughter.
Cafe Daughter.
Yeah, and it is a really good movie. And it is. I played a doctor in it, and it's set back in the 50s, I guess. And it's a true story about um, a young girl who was half indigenous, half Chinese,
Okay.
and it was back in the days where indigenous people were frowned upon. And her goal was to be a doctor,
Oh.
and so I was treating her mother. Her mother was sick, and I would tell her, you can do it. You can do it. Encouraging her. Um, anyhow, it was based on a true story about a lady in Saskatchewan, and she did become a doctor, and she was our first female Indigenous senator of Canada.
Oh wow.
Uh, I'm sorry, I forget her name, and I apologize to her right now. But I met her at one of the screenings. Um,
Oh,
but I
the
guess back to
person.
my point.
You met the
It,
person who they were making the movie on.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my
She
goodness.
came to one of our screenings.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
She lives in Saskatchewan. She's no longer a senator, but she's well known. If you ever get a chance to watch that show, Cafe Daughter, you
Oh
should.
no,
Or,
I kind of got it
or
down
you,
in my now. That's cool.
people who are watching this watch Cafe Daughter, and Magnetosphere is a really good one too. But in both those movies, I was working with children, and Magnetosphere, I was diagnosing the child, and in Cafe Daughter, I was um, telling her about her mother's condition
Oh okay, okay.
and things like that. But so we did the whole shoot. We're back to shooting, and we did the scenes. Cameras behind me, everybody's lined up, the kids, that. We're doing the whole thing, and we go over, and then they do like close-ups on them, and then they do a wider shot, and then they do emotional shots. Anyhow, different lighting, different angles. And in both cases, and I think there was one other one, I can't really recall, but in both cases, when it came to my close ups, and that's what they call them. So that's when the camera, they take everything, change everything around, set it up where the camera's in front of me now, and I'm doing my emotional thing to the kids. Well, there's very strict rules. It's the most strict rules for, it's the only industry that can use children to work when you think about it.
Yes, yes, yes. Yep.
Like we can have a 5-year-old working with us, but
Right.
but no
Yep.
other industry can.
Yep.
But there's very strict rules, and it's right to the second. They have to be. They can only be on set for X amount of time. Then they have to. Someone pulls them off. They have to have a 2-hour break or an hour break, and then they have to take tutoring if they're old enough, and
Oh
that's all
wow.
on set. Like they have the very strict. Like if it's you got 15 minutes left, and exactly 15 minutes, that kid's pulled off set in with the tutor for an hour or two, or whatever the case may be, or play games if they're very young. Point is, it seems every time it's my close-ups, the kids are all pulled off set.
Okay.
So now my whole scene where you see me, I'm talking to the camera. Nobody's there. And
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
trying to do this all emotional thing, and I'm talking to some X that they've got on the wall or on the
Oh
window
my
or on the
goodness.
camera, and I'm trying to do my scene. So that happens a lot, and it seems to me it happens every time I'm on set.
Wow.
It's like my big close up, and now I'm okay. Bill, just look at this X and move your eyes to this X, and
It's amazing that you tell us this in this way because it's something that you really don't think about when you're watching a movie, right? Like
oh, absolutely not. No.
because you've got it there's it's so, how do I say it, the craft is so amazing,
Yeah.
especially in movies that like really in good movies, that you can't imagine what the actor is actually seeing compared
Oh
to
no,
what
no.
we see in the scenes.
Yeah,
To me, it's that part. What I think Jeff Bridges said: we're just in the professional business of make believe. We get to
it's
pretend
true.
all the
Yeah, we
time,
get to pretend all day. Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's so convincing, Bill. Like this is the part that,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
love that part because I just like I've
yeah.
always loved the movies. I mean, that's my first book was kind of around the
Yes,
actor and trying to because
yeah,
I've always been really intrigued with what goes on inside, like how you're explaining this. Right here, you
yeah,
are doing an emotional scene with the
yeah,
child, and you're
yeah,
talking to an ex.
yeah. And you got some assistant director in the back room somewhere reading her lines behind you. It's not even her reading the lines. It's some director or something doing it.
Oh,
And
so
it's
you actually hear the lines that the person's saying to you.
yeah, but it's not her. It's not the
Yes.
kid. It's some person. Here, read them the line. You read the lines. They hand it to somebody, and they're doing her lines, the kid's lines, and I'm pretending it's the kid
And
talking to
that's
me.
what you're prompting you. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Okay.
It's yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy sometimes.
So
Yeah, it's interesting though. Yeah, but I seem to always work with kids, and I seem to always okay. Let's do your close-ups. Oh, she's got to leave now. And
so when
on
you
magnetosphere, when I
yes.
no, I'll just say on
Yeah.
magnetosphere, if you ever get to see it,
Yes.
it'll come out next year somewhere on streaming. But I'm in a doctor's office and I'm talking to the couch. There's three people on a couch. And but then when it came to me, one of them was a child, so they all got wrapped. And I'm just talking to the window. I was working with uh, Patrick McKenna. Do you know him?
Yes. Yes. I
Eh,
think I
eh,
do.
yeah, and Colin Mockery,
Oh,
the
right.
comedian. Yeah,
Okay.
I've been in two movies with him. We did Magnetosphere, and I did another movie which is streaming too. I think it's on CBC or CBC Gem or something called A Christmas Letter.
Okay. You
And
promoted this one, I'm pretty sure. I think I've seen this.
yeah, I think I promote them all. Yeah, on my
Yes.
Facebook page. Yeah, yeah. Anyhow, yeah, that's
And
fun.
Colin Mockery was in the Christmas letter too?
Yeah, he plays Santa Claus.
Oh, okay. He is a
Yeah, yeah.
funny man.
He's really funny. Yeah,
I
yeah.
can only imagine what
I
he's like in person.
He's quiet. He's a nice man. He's quiet in person.
I'll bet. I'll
Yeah,
bet.
yeah,
It's
he's a yeah, very just regular guy, regular Joe. You know, we had a private showing in Toronto at the Royal Theatre of Magnetosphere, and he was there, and we chatted for some time. And
oh cool.
he's very quiet. Yeah,
So, do you remember now, like when? Well, I'm sure you do. Like, so you went out and did a few of this extra work from this ad
yeah,
that
yeah,
just kind of came out of the blue. It sounds like, and you said, "Oh, this sounds like something to try."
yeah, yeah. And I would recommend people do it.
Oh, I bet. I was going to say it'd be such a cool thing to
Yeah,
experiment with on
yeah.
and to find out with like as you say that, I'm kind of going like, I think that'd be a cool thing to do. Like, I'd love to do
It would be. It's neat too, and it's the easiest job in the world
that.
because you don't have to do anything. You
You
just
just
sit there. And
well,
sometimes I've been on as background. I was on set sometimes for 10 hours, and
oh,
they never used me. They
oh
never
wow.
used me. I was just in holding, and They feed you, you eat, you talk to people, and I have made such great friends from doing
I'll bet
background.
you
All my
have.
friends now are from that.
Amazing, eh?
Uh, we hang out together. We talk to each other, and when I go and do it, and I still sneak out and do it nowadays. I have agents sometimes don't like you doing it in case there's a
Ah,
role that comes up or whatever. But
right.
the point is, I do the odd time sneak out, and I yeah, and when I get there, it's not so much the background part; it's just to socialize. It's like, wow, we sit there, we talk, we catch up like we're doing now, and
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it's
that's
fun.
really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So you've gone through a couple of these, it sounds like, before you got a role that was a speaking role.
yeah. I went through a lot. Yeah,
So when you first got, so like I'm kind of saying, thinking this is kind of next level, right? Like as far as you go from that, then like when you said
yeah,
you were in the lead for the one with the Letter Kenny,
yeah, yeah.
um, like that's again another level. When you had to speak your first lines, like do you remember like what that moment felt like how you like
I
prepared and
do. Yeah, I do. But um, I was fortunate to have a casting director, um, and I'm going to tell her name is Melissa Smith,
okay,
and she kind of took me under her wing, and
oh
she
cool,
prepared me when I showed up on set. I was prepared.
okay,
I mean, obviously, I didn't know it at all, but I was prepared that they were going to do this and they were going to do that, and that was going to happen. Like on background, this was a big thing. On background, you're told everything. Like, okay, I want you to walk. When he says that, I want you to walk past the window and go over there, or I want you to come in the restaurant, sit, pretend you're having a coffee. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. I want you to do that. When you're an actor, you know your lines, you know roughly what the scene's going to be. They change it a lot when you get there, but when you get on set, the director will go, "Hi, how are you? Yeah, good. You guys ready? Yeah, okay, action." And there's no directions. I mean, you have to act, right? That's what
right,
it's called. Why it's called acting.
yep,
It's up to you to act, do the lines, and you do the. Nobody tells you how to move or do anything, and that's one of the things that kind of threw me a bit. Was like, okay, I'll just get into this, you know. Because nobody really instructed me to do anything.
okay.
Uh, they just expected you to do it. It was a show called Northern Rescue with Alex Baldwin.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we shot in Perry Sound. I had a very small part. I was the owner of a store, a dollar store kind of thing,
Oh,
and the
really?
kids, the stars, the kids, the rent were the stars in the show. They were stealing from the store, and I chased them outside. And yeah, yeah.
And
But yeah,
so,
that's
did you find like like when you say Melissa Smith really did help prepare you for this?
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
what was like were you caught like in like were you intimidated by it? Like, were you nervous, or were you saying like this is where I want to be?
Yeah, it was like I tell my wife this too. I said I'm nervous. I am nervous when I'm driving to the set.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm always like, oh, I don't want to forget my lines. Da, 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 you're always second guessing yourself. I am, and then once I get there and
You're
once I
in.
get on set, everything goes away. All the nervousness goes away. It's like I'm home. It feels like home.
Oh, that's
Yeah, this is
cool.
where I should be. Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, let's just do this. Yeah, it's a strange feeling. It's just like I'm relaxed, I'm good, just I'm prepared. Put me in my spot, you know. So yeah,
So we
but I'm
you're
nervous going there.
yeah, I was gonna say it's that I go to like what's it, Daniel Defoe, who wrote about like what you think of how things are going to happen is 1,000 times worse than what actually really happens. And it's like
It's true. Yeah, yeah,
and how do you describe that? It's like you're thinking, and then you're there, and you're where you're supposed to be, right?
yeah. One thing I do as an actor, and this is just kind of how I prepare, is I learn my lines, but I don't learn them with the emotions that they want. Like they'll go, oh,
Oh,
it
okay.
could be a sad thing, or I don't learn my lines like that. I will if I do an audition
Okay.
because they want to see that. But
Right.
when have a part, I just learn my lines, words. I want to know the lines. I want to know lines. I don't uh, preset in my mind what it's going to look like, where I'm going to be sitting, what's the scenery is going to be, or anything, because it's never what you think.
I'll
And
bet.
sometimes if you're stuck on that one track, it can
Yes.
throw you for a loop.
Oh, I'll
When
bet.
you walk in the set, it's like, well, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
Where's the
So
staircase?
yeah. What? I was supposed to fall here. Yeah. So I don't. I kind of just learn the words, learn the lines, and
So
then
did
the emotions. I kind of, if it's an emotional scene, I will try to draw from the other actor to
Oh,
get into
okay.
that mood. Like
Oh,
I,
neat.
I I think there's an acting uh, oh, teaching. It's called the
Okay.
Meisner way of acting, and it's you draw off the other person, right? It's not you don't bring emotions from within. You grab it from the other person.
Well, in
Yeah,
essence, that's what you're, in a way, trying to create, right? Because this is like making something real that's not
yeah,
real.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah.
neat thing. So did you get this from learning it, like as in having been prepared for what it would look like, and then you walk on, and then it's not what you thought at all, or had you already been kind of prepped by that? Like, for example, your casting director
Yeah,
Melissa,
yeah,
or
I got prepped for a lot. Not so much
okay,
that, but I got prepped for a lot. Um, and even from the business side of it, she prepped me.
okay,
All of us that took her classes, um, what to expect. You
right.
know, expect the unexpected, obviously, but but what to expect. Yeah, no, it's I. What I try to do as an actor is when I see the breakdown and you're a doctor, Doctor So and So, that's fine. That'd be my name, but I don't try to be that character. I try to create my own character. So if I'm a doctor, I'm going to be a doctor differently than you're going to be a doctor because you're a different person, right?
Right, right.
So I'm going to be me. I'm going to be me as a doctor. And
Okay.
director will go, oh, can you maybe get louder, get faster, or whatever. They adjust things. But I always try, and when I go on set, in my mind, as soon as they say action, I'm actually that person. I'm not me anymore. I'm that person, and that's what I try to achieve. Yeah,
That's like, it's neat, your thought process as far as how you're going through this, because when you explain it like that, it's kind of what makes, as a spectator, the viewer, it makes it real, right? Like you just said,
yeah,
I'm no longer me, I'm them.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
wow.
I try anyhow. you know,
So are you constantly like, are you working on something right now?
uh, no, I just no. Right now, we audition a lot.
Okay, okay.
Now it's been quiet the last few weeks, but like 3 weeks ago, I had 2 days. I had 5 auditions.
So
Um,
don't you have to learn your lines for an audition though?
yeah, yeah, that's all I do. When I get these auditions, that's all I do is I just
So you're
um,
walking around the house like,
I'm everywhere, grocery
really?
store, driving. I'm doing lines. People think I'm insane because I'm just constantly doing lines.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
And so nowadays, it was before we did a little bit before, but nowadays for sure, since COVID is we do when we get an audition, most of the time we'll do a self tape. So I will
Okay.
just like we're doing now. I will set up my camera. I have a whole setup in behind me here, and my background. I think you can see part of it there. And I will set all my lighting up and microphones, and I will do the audition. And my wife will be behind the camera most of the time,
Okay.
and she'll do the reading of the other part. Um, and she has a rule that I'm to know my lines.
Okay, fair.
before I come downstairs and help you because I'm not going to sit here for a long time. Know your lines, you know, and I do, and so we do a lot of self tapes. So we're busy doing that. It could be none for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden you get five or six, and
Oh wow.
yeah, and they're for all over. Like I've been auditioning for Calgary, Montreal. I mean, pretty well
Really,
everywhere.
eh?
Some big shows too. I auditioned about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, to play Tim McGraw's father.
Oh.
Yeah, in a Netflix series or a Prime series or something like that, Paramount series.
So Tim McGraw's in the movie
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you're
it's his movie.
ah,
Yeah,
okay. Really?
he'll be the star of the movie, and I auditioned to be his father.
Interesting
I
cast.
didn't get the role. Obviously, I by now I would have known. I think, but
Okay.
yeah. So you never know. Like it can just be the next movie you do could be with whoever. You know.
It's to me like that's part of that world is you don't know, right? Like it's like it just you don't know, right?
Yeah,
Like nothing's
you
for
don't know,
sure.
and it could just be. Well, the latest movie that's out making the circuit right now is uh, that Trump story. You know, it's The Apprentice.
Oh yes,
Have you
yes,
heard
the show.
that movie?
Or it's a movie.
It's a movie
Oh, I didn't know
that they made
this.
of The Apprentice, and it's really causing a stir right now. And I auditioned for that. I auditioned to play the role of Rudy Giuliani.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
and I did another one. I auditioned the Sundin. No, what was his name? Salming Story.
Oh, Boria.
Boris
Yeah.
Salming.
Yeah.
I auditioned to play. They asked me to audition to play what the owner of the Maple Leafs,
Oh,
Harold
Harold
Ballard.
Ballard. Oh, really?
Yeah, so I auditioned to play him too.
Oh, wow.
So I get a lot of great auditions,
Oh,
and
that's cool.
the percentage of landing the roles are pretty slim. But yeah,
No, but you're still like that's what they say. You just got to stay in there, right, and keep
yeah.
doing it, like
Someday
being
you're
all
right
in.
for them, and sometime you're not right for them.
So your
You know.
agent's working well for you in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. They work very well. Yeah, all the agents work very hard for their actors. Yeah,
No,
I got
that's
to.
very cool.
Yeah, yeah,
So now you're in the acting role, right? And you're doing an well let's go to the one that you said that you did with Letterkenny, Nathaniel.
yeah,
Um
yeah. It's called The Lost Word
the
at the
law
moment. That's what it's called.
oh,
The
that's a
Lost Word. Oh, well, it's about. It's about a writer.
yeah,
He's a writer,
okay.
and he's getting dementia. He has dementia. It's getting
The
worse.
father's the writer who's
Yeah,
getting to
the role
oh,
I
okay.
play as a writer.
Okay.
So I will. I forget. I'm writing, and then I forget what the next word is going to be.
Ah, okay. No,
Right?
that's
Well, you probably experienced that. And then I get
totally.
up, I go whatever do, and I remember it. But by the time I get back to my
You've
desk,
forgotten it again.
I forgot it again. So
Oh
that's
my
why it's
goodness,
called the
man.
Lost Word. Yeah,
Oh, that's a good title. I like the title a lot. So
yeah, it has a really good script. Yeah.
when you're doing that, what made you go and say, I want to make a film? Like I want to direct a film. Like how did that like now now you're in front of the camera, you're
Yeah.
acting. Like what is it that like I know you're a writer, like with your books and everything. Like what prompted you to say I want to make a film?
Well, I kind of go on sets there, and I think I can do this. It's like
Ah,
writing a
okay.
book. Oh, I can do that. But I think more was, you do all these auditions. And a lot of actors will, even the stars now will tell you that's why they did theirs. Um, you do so many auditions, and then you watch the movie and you see who got the role. And yeah, that
Ah,
that guy fit perfectly, or whatever the case. But you do so many auditions, and the percentage of getting roles is so slim that we talk to ourselves and we go, you know what? Let's just do our own stuff.
ah.
Create work for ourselves.
I'll be controlling it. I'll be in
And
control of this.
that's kind of the mentality behind it is you make your
Ah,
own work. And it's really time consuming.
I'll bet. I'll
And
bet.
it's not so much it's preparing, organizing, you know, um, locations and you know, crew crew, and but anyhow, and then after the fact, it's a long process to edit. You have to edit. You
Oh
have
yes.
to
Oh yeah.
sound. I wrote the soundtrack for it, so I did all the sound for it and the music and stuff, and recorded it.
You wrote the
And then
music for the soundtrack?
yeah,
Oh, that's
and then I
cool.
did all the birds chirping and us walking through the bush and the wind blowing and
Man.
so I put all I had like 40 some tracks of all these different things, and then you have to have that sunk to the movie, which I didn't have the capability, but I have someone who does it, the crew that work with me, and then they have to color it.
Oh
So the
man.
whole movie is recolored, so the color is equal on each shot, and so it's a long process. Yeah, we shot it this summer, and I still don't have the final product. I was
Oh man.
hoping it showed up today, schedule wise. It was supposed to, but
Oh. Well, I thought it was interesting. Like that's why I want to ask the question because it's like I often think like I need to tell a story now, and that's why you move from the actor to the role
yeah,
of film director. But you're saying it's kind of a little more than that. It's like
it's actually the opposite. Is like we need to let's just start doing our own things. Let's
yeah,
build our own,
yeah.
and so let's create a story
No, that's
for that.
that's cool. Like
Yeah.
I
Now
really
it
think
could be
that's
the
neat.
other way too. Like with my book, I obviously already have the book, and I'd like to get that to screen. But yeah, um,
You said that you would like to do that kind of in a Netflix series kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, I would. I'm going to do another short film in the spring. I've got it written, and it's only going to be me and another actor in it. Um, uh, One actress that I worked with on my previous one, and it's kind of a father-daughter thing.
Oh, okay,
Uh,
okay.
and then after that, I'd like to maybe do a little bigger, but it's going to be like boils down to financing.
Yeah.
It really does. That's what it boils down.
We
Like
hear
if
that.
a
You do
production
hear that
company
a
came
lot.
to me, yeah, if a production came to me tomorrow and said, "Hey, we'll back," or someone read my book, uh,
Ah, okay.
they'd say, "Oh, hey, let's do this." Like I've sent my so many books out free to different people just to see if I can get an interest in it.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I
and
I can relate to that because
well, you do that too, probably.
I've
Yeah,
often heard would people would read the book and I see it often. This would make a great movie. Like that's the kind of thing that you hear often, right?
yeah, yeah. I hear that too. I get comments like that. So yeah,
Interesting, interesting. The other thing you commented was on how, and I'm always fascinated by this, but you see people who, for example, I'll take Die Hard as an example, the movie Die Hard, and I'm always interested, like, because I think the saying is something to the effect, and in talking to you, it becomes very real. It's almost a miracle. Every movie is almost a miracle that it even gets made.
it
And
is. Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
when you see the amount of work that goes into it and how like you got to have a script and all this kind of thing. And I'm often thinking that when I hear these stories about the actors that actually said no to this role
To a role.
and
Yeah,
and
yeah. You
who
hear that a
actually
lot.
got the role,
Yeah,
and you're kind of like, wow, talk about a different movie if it had been that person.
yeah, yeah. Wouldn't that be nice to be in a position you can say no?
Well, doesn't Matt Damon go around talking about Sam Worthington took the role in Avatar that Cameron offered that to Matt Damon,
It could be. I'm not sure.
and
I do know that. Oh, what's his name? Um, Brad Pitt.
yes, yes, yes.
I was just watching something of him the other day, and he started as background
Oh,
actor.
okay,
And
okay.
they were talking about it. He says, "You know what?" He said to the other actor. He says, "I almost got kicked off because," he said, "I'm because if you're background,
Yes.
um, you get paid like minimum wage or something. But if you're a union and you do background,
Oh,
which I
okay,
am, you get
okay.
paid a pretty good wage.
Oh,
You're
really?
like,
Okay,
you get
that's
like a
cool.
pretty good wage, yeah. Um, so in them days when he was going, he was trying to get his union card because you have to have a speaking role to get a union card.
Okay, okay. Interesting.
so he said, he was telling the story. He says, you know what? I was going to try to sneak a line in and see what they say. Because if they kept it, they had to pay him a lot more. So instead of
Oh,
him making $200 for a day, he would have made 1,000 for the day.
oh
So
yes.
he went to a table and he go, oh, can I get you something more? And they went, cut. If you say that again, you're off the set and you'll never be back on. It's like he got hacked.
The risk takers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
interesting hearing like this part of, how do you say, the behind the scenes of what kind of makes the movie kind of happen,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
it is
yeah.
fascinating. So you have a similar story to Brad Pitt, right? Starting in the back.
Yeah, well, yeah, so many of them started that way. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Like here where I live, in the area, we do a lot of Hallmark movies here.
Oh, okay, okay.
Hallmarky movies. They're a lot of them now are for instead of Hallmark, they were, and then the president of Hallmark left, started his own company called Great American Family Channel. So they do those here,
Okay.
and they're shot in 15 days. They
Wow.
have to be done. They have 15 days to shoot this thing, and they do. Oh gosh, they do so many of them up here. I don't know how many they're doing. This year wasn't a lot, but normally we get four, five, six, seven of them going.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
make
I was just
they
on.
they make a lot of those movies here in Abbotsford as well. I because you see it in the
Yeah,
papers every once in a
yeah.
while.
You're out
So
west now, right?
yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
in
And
Abbotsford.
now with what you said, I'm kind of intrigued about, like, even like, okay, if I hear that, maybe I should go out and sign up. That'd be kind of fun to do.
You should. You should. You
Because
just go for the day, and they feed you.
food's a good
You
thing. Food's a good
you
thing.
sit there. You can take your computer and you can edit your show, or you could write a book,
Yeah,
or you can do anything you want. And then when they say, "Okay, we need you on set," you go, you do your little thing, and then you go back to holding, and you just do whatever you want.
I'm intrigued by that by a lot.
Easiest job in the world. The
You know
only
it's
problem is your butt gets sore from sitting doing nothing.
it's kind of like how you've gone through so many kind of different things, because I've been recently listening to, because you said you were in music too,
Yeah, yeah,
and you've written some songs and things like that, and I was intrigued because we've got the big movie coming out of Gladiator 2,
yeah,
and with Russell Crowe in Gladiator 1. And I've heard him on interview a few times now, and he talks about that first, and you've given some background to this today to me, because he explains how he spoke to Ridley Scott, and they were in the set. They had no script, and Ridley Scott. Have you heard this? Because
no,
it's worth listening to. It's just a fun
yeah,
thing. And he
yeah,
was kind of described, like you were saying, about not bringing emotion in and trying to work off the other actors to get the
yeah,
emotion you have. And he was saying how Ridley said, you have to walk up this place and I want you to do this. And apparently he went and did, like, the beginning scene of Gladiator, right? It's quite
yeah, yeah,
daunting. And he finished that, and apparently Scott said, well, we're going to get along real well, because he did exactly what he was told to do, right?
exactly, yeah,
But he started in the music world and in the creative world too, which I kind of learned. And I thought, I love these stories, as far as, like, because you only
yeah.
see people in certain sense. So when we go out to see your movie with Nathaniel from Letterkenny, you said Lost for Words. Is that what the title
What's
of the?
that?
It's called the Lost for
The
Words.
law, yeah, the lost word.
The
Yeah,
Lost Word, rather than the
yeah,
last word. The
yeah. That'll
Lost Word.
be. I don't know when it's going to be edited and put out. I don't know much about it right now.
But it
So,
sounds like really, really kind of interesting. Did you have to do some research on that role?
well, I did a little, but I have been close to it.
Oh, in real
Uh,
life circumstances.
yeah, like I had some
Yes.
family members that were in touch with that, but also we had a very close friend that just passed away last year,
Oh wow.
and
Sorry.
with dementia, a very aggressive dementia,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we saw them every few days, and we saw the
Mm.
progression as it went. So the story itself was we decided, well, the director decided, I should say we, that once we started, he says, I kind of want to switch the focus off you. He's talking to me. And I want to focus more on how it's affecting the people around you.
Right.
So we know how it's going to affect you, and I liked that take on it. So like, if I'm having a deep conversation with my wife in the story and I get up and leave, the camera doesn't follow me. It will stay on her
Right.
because she's dealing with all this and she doesn't know how to, and same as Nathan, who
Interesting.
plays my son. It's like, it will stick on him because how's it affecting the other people, which is a nice take on that sad thing that, that people
Yeah.
have. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
Oh,
and then
it
yeah,
sounds
it's a nice story. I think it's going to do well.
it's a
I don't know.
drama. Like it's a serious drama movie, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is very serious. Yeah, yeah,
Interesting.
oh yeah, yeah. I can't really give much away other than that, but there's there's other parts of it that come in that are like, "Phew, this is pretty sad." I mean, I was pretty sad doing it when when I was doing it. It was pretty emotional,
It's
Yeah,
interesting that that take was made because like we're all kind of have I'll call it dementia and Alzheimer's around us. It's very much a part of our human experience. It seems today,
yeah,
somebody has a family member or a friend, and it's to that point. It's like how much does the person who it's happening to realize? Because the people around them know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's like that to me is like it's in a way it's probably even like death, right?
yeah.
Where you
So yeah, it is. So like, I found from what I've seen is the person that has it. A lot of times you'll see them really happy,
mm,
smiling and happy because they're there. They're in it, and it affects the other person, right? And it's like in death, like when if I have to do a death scene
yes,
when I'm passing away, the last thing I'm thinking of is the person that's standing over me. I mean, I'm so gone into my own
right,
thing. As an actor, that's the way I look at it, and I've been taught
interesting,
that too. And it's
yes,
like, you know, uh, you're not all that concerned with the people around you
it's all
because
about
you're
you.
at the end of the road and your mind is there. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's so it affects the people around you is basically what more than it affects you. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, like it, and the
yeah,
sadness of those people around you, right? That you're not aware
yeah,
of. I was going to say, man, Bill, this has been so fascinating to me. I get kind of excited about this whole acting world because I like I said, I love movies. I wrote my first book was about it,
yeah.
and my second book was actually about the music part of it. But it's just
Well, there you go.
I do find it like extremely fascinating what that sense of the creativeness is. But I think you've also been able to give a great impression of what it's like in the reality of
Yeah,
acting. Like it's
yeah.
kind of a neat thing, and seeing all the different things that you've done. To me, that's
It's
crazy.
like
Like
taking
it's
your car to a garage. You drop it off, and you pick it up, and it runs great. But you didn't see everything that went on to make it run great, right? You can see all the dirt and the grease and all that, and
yeah,
that's
and
that's what it is. Guys
no,
yelling at each other behind you. The electrician's doing this, and the camera guy wants that, and the lighting guy wants that, and it's
oh
just it's very hectic. So when I am not actually rehearsing on set, or I'm not doing my thing, I
right.
clear. I just go clear somewhere quiet. And when they need me, they come and get me because
It's
you're
too
in the way,
distracting. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's in the way. Yeah, so it's.
Interesting.
But I do encourage you to go do some background because
No,
I know out
it's
west
you've
there's
you've
lots.
kind of made me like think about this a little bit because it does sound like not only it sounds interesting, but it sounds fun actually. Like as far
It
as
is
those
fun.
things
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
go and
yeah.
how that comes down. So, Bill, if somebody wants to find out more about you, like you have a website, I think WC Cole, William
Yeah, I
C.
think.
Cole.
Yeah, I'm not great at keeping that up to date.
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah,
hard to do
I
that.
think I think on the acting side, the best place would be my IMDb.
Okay, yep. And that's
Um,
William C. Cole, IMDb, right?
yeah, yeah, and my you can follow me on my Facebook page.
Is that where you're most
Um,
active in social media?
yeah, in the acting world, yeah, Facebook is a big thing in the acting world. Um,
Okay, because I saw
um,
you like on Instagram. That was kind of
I'm
the
on
ones that.
Instagram. I'm on Twitter.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
I'm on like I neglected to keep my Twitter up to date, but I am now that I'm promoting the Mystical Cave. And I have William C. Cole
Yes.
Facebook,
Okay.
but then I also have Bill Cole, which is my personal.
Oh, okay.
But the Bill Cole, it's Bill Cole 999 or something like that. But I post everything on there first, and then I
Okay.
flip it over to William C. Cole, and then I have my own. Like I started a page for the Mystical Cave, and I started a
Right.
Twitter page for Mystical Cave, and all those. But that's secondary, right?
No,
So yeah,
fair, very true.
you can see me on Facebook, and then move on to my other sites, and
No,
yeah,
that's very cool. So you've got Mystical Cave that's your movie, and you're hoping it's going to do the film festival route.
yeah, we'll
Yep.
do that for about 6 months or so.
Okay.
Starting like next month, we'll start submitting. I don't
Yep.
know. You're submitting for June already,
Of
but
2025. Okay.
and then I will probably get it, have it on. I'm thinking it will probably be Prime
Okay.
has
Okay.
shorts.
Yep.
You can get shorts put on there and distribute it to them. And what's it called? Lulu or
Okay. Tubi. Yes, I've heard of
Tubi.
Tubi. Yes.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get on there too. Maybe
Okay.
other from there are platforms that take short films.
Right. A little bit easier.
Now, if it's good enough for them, like I did it, I like it.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I'm trying to build it up, but people may watch and go, huh, I don't know about this. Who knows? You don't
that's
know until they watch
that's
it.
what you're always up against, right? Like
Yeah,
it never
yeah,
that never goes away. You think it's fantastic, and then you find
yeah,
out, then you think, well, this is nothing, and then people love it, right? It's just so
yeah.
weird how our tastes are.
Well,
You've
I've been
also,
to
yeah,
film festivals that I sat there and watched a lot of movies, and I'm going, ugh, halfway through. I wish I could leave, I don't, but I mean, I've seen those films that I
yes,
wish I could leave. I don't even understand this. And
yes.
uh, I'm hoping mine does okay. I mean, I don't get, we had fun doing it.
No, I wish you all the best on it. I also
Yeah,
want to talk
thanks.
promote your two books that are out too. So
Yeah,
if you could just like where people can get those books still.
probably Amazon's your best bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the titles of them are
Love Lonely and uh, Who Lies Beside Me.
and their what the Who Lies Beside Me is the sequel to the
To
first
Love
one,
Lonely,
right?
yeah. Love Lonely's first, and Who Lies Beside Me.
And you're hoping
Um,
to make that eventually a trilogy.
yeah, yeah. Like I had signed with a publisher
Okay, okay.
for mine. Well, all
Oh,
what goes in behind. Anyhow, so I had signed that anything to do with that series has to go through them.
okay, okay.
If they accept it once they read
Right.
it. So yeah, I mean, I wish I didn't sign with a publisher, but I did. But anyhow, uh, hopefully they don't watch this.
Any
If not,
closing?
sorry.
Yes.
No, I'm just saying to them, sorry.
Yeah. Any final comment that you'd like to pass on to someone who's
No,
thinking about any
I,
of these
it
things?
was it. This went really fast, and it was a lot of fun, Douglas. Yeah, it really was. I hope we get to do it again. Maybe we can,
I was
and you
going to
can tell me
say
about your background
I'm
work.
really intrigued about your mystical cave.
Yeah,
Mystical cave or mystic cave?
mythical cave,
Mythical cave.
mythical.
And
Yeah,
and also the one that you do with Nathaniel from Letterkenny. Like I
yeah,
think those are
yeah.
kind of
That's going to be
really neat
good.
to see.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
Magnetosphere. If you
oh
get a chance to
yes,
see
oh
that when it
yes,
comes out, it's about synesthesia. The girl
yes.
has, and I don't. A lot of people don't know what that is. But just quickly, unless we have to cut right now, but
No, no.
it's a condition that um, you see colors or numbers when you look at a person or when you hear music. You hear them like you look at you and you'll be like orange, and the next person will look and she'll relate to you as red, and it's a very common condition that not a lot of people know they have, and most people by the time they're teens it's gone.
Yes,
But with this
yes.
young girl, it stayed, and she thought she was going crazy, and I diagnosed her and blah blah blah. But it's interesting. I even asked my doctor; she knew what that was when I was researching it,
Oh, okay.
and she didn't even know what it was. You know,
So you're going to
um,
find this funny, but or interesting. But Kirk Sutherland, who's a Canadian artist recognized internationally, was on this podcast.
yeah,
He has synesthesia. It was the first
oh,
time I've heard of it, and he
yeah,
described it exactly as you did, like basically
yeah,
seeing people and things in color.
yeah,
And it was fascinating to listen to because it helps him with his art. But he didn't know. He, like, to your point, he
yeah,
thought he was like kind of like going crazy
yeah,
until it was actually diagnosed of what he's had, and how he's been
yeah,
able to allow it to work into his creative world, which is
yeah,
really fascinating when you described it just as you did.
yeah. So anytime, like I'm promoting it too for the director. The
Cool.
director has become a good friend of mine,
Right on.
and anything I'm in, I like to promote. I like it being seen, right? I like to
Yeah,
be like
absolutely.
it. Uh, if it comes to close to a city near you, you should go see it. Or people should go see it.
Oh,
It's
well, for
doing the
sure.
film circuit now, and it's we just had one in Hamilton, the Canadian debut of it, and then it's going to the States. Um, and it has I can't say where right now, but there's some big film festivals that it's hitting in the States, and then it's hitting going down Australia,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
so it's going to be
International.
seen a lot, and it's a good show, and that's the one with Patrick McKenna, and uh, anyhow, it's going to be it's a good show.
And it's
Yeah,
called
that one. And
the Lost Word.
hey,
It's
what's
called the
that?
Lost Word.
No, that's Magnetosphere.
Oh, okay. Oh, this.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. No, because I've
the
seen
Lost Word is the
Magnetosphere.
yeah. Sorry, the Lost Word isn't out yet. That's Lost Word is the one with dementia.
Okay, right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
for sure. So it's you got a
And
lot
if
of
you get a
stuff going
chance,
on.
yeah, if you get a chance, watch Cafe Daughter.
No, I've got it written down. Like I'm really intrigued
Yeah,
by that.
I think you can find it on maybe on Paramount or
Okay,
Prime
okay,
or CBC Gem. Do you
right.
ever
Yep,
go to
yep. I
that?
know
Yeah, I
CBC Gem as
probably
well.
see it on there.
Okay,
Um, Good movie, really good
interesting.
movie.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
and you'll see me dressed as a 1950 doctor.
that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
Well, I'll tell you, Bill, this has been a great conversation. I just
it's
thrilled
been
that
fun.
things are going so well for you and what you're
Yeah,
doing, and you
yeah,
seem to be like super happy. What a crazy life you've had. Like it's so
isn't
neat to
that
see
it?
that connected. That I never, when we met at Chapters, had any kind of idea of. So that's really cool.
I
So I
probably
hope.
didn't then either.
What's that?
I didn't know about the movies at that time either. So
Well, I think part of it is the willingness you have to just go out and try it and do it.
yeah,
Like,
well, yeah, I like doing that.
yeah, no,
My wife says
it's
she's
quite.
never surprised at what I do,
No,
uh, but you know what? You're never too old, Douglas.
no, you're not. No,
You're
no,
not. You
that's
never are. I mean,
no.
just go do it. I mean, if there's something you want to do, go do it. Who cares? You know?
Welcome to better than not.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
It's better than not doing it, Bill. That is for
That
sure.
is it. Yeah.
With that, I would like to thank you guys for listening today. I was going to say, I hope you've enjoyed this episode with William C. Cole or Bill, and maybe as Bill just kind of said, it's it's better to do something than to do nothing. Why not step out and do something that's maybe out of your comfort zone and seeing what you like to do? Anyway, with that, Bill, if you could stay on for just a minute, it's been
Yeah.
great and
It's been a pleasure, Douglas.
great. That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Bye for now. Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not.